Hey, it's Yash, and in this next lesson in the Audiences course, we're going to talk through how you actually add data to your foundation of audiences and how you continue to add data to expand your TAM, expand your ICP, and go after more companies, more people, more leads, and more opportunities. So, number one way in which you actually set the foundation for your audiences layer in Clay is to actually go into adding data when you get into any of the audience tabs for people or companies, and then look at the integrations, exports, and searches that you have. Now, ignore exports for now and realize that your integrations with either your data warehouse or your CRM are going to be how you actually sync data from external sources of storage back into Clay. Now for you, you're going to go ahead and add a source. Make sure that when you add a source, you have the right Salesforce credentials, HubSpot credentials, Snowflake, whatever you need to be able to actually query all of that data accurately. And then what you're going to see is a screen very similar to this. You're going to have accounts, contacts, leads, and opportunity objects. Let's walk through each of those one by one. First, accounts and contacts. Very similar styles of objects. What you're going to first do is actually sync them via import. You want to keep the sync button on to maintain a live connection between Clay and Salesforce for your account object. Now for account matching and record matching, it's optional, but highly suggested, in particular if you have more than one source going back and forth. Even if not, it's helpful for wherever any duplicates might appear in individual unique records. When you click setup, you're going to see, okay, what is the field that I actually want to match on? Probably something unique, probably a LinkedIn URL or a domain. Select where that field exists in Salesforce for you. So for example here, domain in Salesforce matches for us to account domains. And then we're going to do equals, and then we want to merge those records and preserve all unique data between the two. This makes sure that if you end up accidentally with duplicates across multiple systems, you preserve the sanctity of all of the data across all of your records. Now, you're also going to want to most likely sync exports. If you think about syncing imports, that means that all data that you add uniquely to Salesforce, maybe you have an SDR team manually adding records directly to Salesforce, then gets synced freshly into Clay. If you think about syncing exports, what that then means is whenever you add data from Clay, it gets automatically sent in the right fields for your accounts and contacts back to Salesforce. Now in our little demo account here, I'm going to keep the export sync turned off because I don't want to actually send data that we're demoing to our core CRM, but it's as simple as turning on the export sync, which is going to merge that data between existing records, and then also optionally, you should create new Salesforce records, which if I were to toggle that on, you will see what should your unique Clay ID be. Have your Salesforce admin create a unique field in Salesforce just called Clay ID and map it back here so that anytime you create these new records, we're able to use that ID to resolve any dupes or collisions. Now, what we're going to do last, but certainly not least, is actually map all of the fields from your audiences in Clay over to your accounts object over in Salesforce. And then for each field, you get to set a separate standard for how you want collisions to be happening and how you want overwrites to be happening. This part, I'll admit, is kind of the worst part of audiences right now. We'll get better and better at auto mapping over time, but it's as simple as choosing the core fields that you want. Let's say I also want to sync my account names between the two. I already have that as a default up here, but let's just assume it for a second. We're going to do our best job to pull the automatic one that we can map. If not, you're going to have to search through all of your fields and then manually reselect a different field that you want to sync with that audience field. And then from there, you've got three options. Never write, which we have on here just so that we don't mess up our core Salesforce infrastructure. More likely for you, you are going to want to pick for various fields, always write. In particular, if Clay is really your GTM infrastructure and then everything else is just a storage layer, you want Clay as the source of truth. So always write is helpful. To slightly de-risk that, you can do write if empty, which means that if there are filled fields and Salesforce and Clay have a discrepancy, we're only going to create new fields and write fields where they're empty. We're not going to overwrite old data. If you get confused by that, try testing on a couple, see how it works, and then move forward. Now, I'm not going to go through that exact same setup for contacts, leads, and opportunities because it's basically the same thing. You're going to do the whole same set of steps in contacts because account and contacts are similar objects. Now, a quick Salesforce nuance here with leads and opportunities. Leads are actually just a subset of your contacts objects. You and your Salesforce admin likely have a field set up that takes contact objects and puts them into a lead object. Leads and contacts are one-to-one. Contacts can become leads or they can be not leads. And so you are really just going to import any additional data fields that might be unique to your leads object if you want that high fidelity visibility into your funnel. Opportunities are slightly different. You might have multiple opportunities at one account. So if you think of leads and contacts as one-to-one, then you should think of opportunities and accounts as many-to-one. Because think about if we were selling to Google, for example, we might be selling to Google Cloud, Google Platform, and Google Education. Each of those are different opportunity objects, all tied back to the same core account object. But in the same way here, we're just going to have an import sync, and we're going to then populate the unique information at the opportunity level in your audience so that you have that fidelity in Clay. Now, you can do the exact same thing with Snowflake and with HubSpot. Snowflake is just going to be you adding a SQL query. And so if you don't know how to do that well, talk to your data admin or data engineering team, and they will definitely help you out. But the rules are all basically the same on this screen. So that covers part one, which is how do I set the data foundation tied back to my CRM and my data warehouse. Now let's get into part two, which is how do I add net new people and companies in a controlled way to an audience. That's going to be as easy as what you've already been used to doing in Clay. Let's do a quick example with a company search. So if I come over to find leads and I put in this company search, New York-based software companies with 51 to 200 employees, I'm going to let Sculptor go through an AI filter and match my deterministic search for me so I can still make edits in a controlled fashion. Probably what it will do is because 200 is on the cusp, see, I knew it. Work with AI too much. 201 gets included here. I'm going to take that out. I'm going to look at my total universe of companies. It's 4,274. I happen to know that it's not doing a good job of putting location in here. So I'm going to go ahead and add that original filter that I wanted, which is for New York. And then once that's done, my total universe of companies here is going to be 2,792. Now, I don't know how many of those companies actually overlap with companies I maybe already have targeted or downloaded or enriched in my overall universe of a company's audience in Clay. We'll get there in just a second, because now, brand new button when you click continue, you can see here, save to a new workbook and table, save to an existing table, and more importantly, save to company's audience. And note that it says excludes results already in company's audiences. Now, you're going to have to wait a couple of seconds because there's a lot of different functions and matching and cleaning and sorting happening under the hood here. In many ways, audiences is a data miracle at scale. There are things that are happening that our engineering team has worked incredibly well on. And so while this populates, what's going to happen is we're going to see right now in our total universe of all companies, aka our company's audience in this workspace, we have 4,214 companies. I'm willing to gamble, just based on the fact that I've added data in this workspace before, there's going to be some overlap with our New York software companies. I don't want duplicate records of those companies coming into the audience, and so what Audiences is going to do is take this segment that I'm looking to import into my overall audience, and then clean it, sort it, figure out the overlap automatically so that before I go ahead and actually push all of this data to the company's audience, it's in drafts right now, we are acutely aware of all of the potential overlap and data that might emerge from this. Now we're just going to play the Jeopardy theme song while I wait a little bit longer. You can see the wheel is still spinning here. And one other thing is that I often have to refresh to make sure the data is as accurate as possible. And on refresh, we can see that we've got 2,780 companies here. We've got 12 records that are excluded because they're already in our list, and that math does math. 2,792 companies from my original search, 12 being saved as overlapping functions. And as you can imagine, the more complex your TAM sourcing strategy gets, the more people you add to the team, the more companies and prospects you go after, the larger and larger this overlap becomes, and therefore the more and more credits are automatically saved for you so you can utilize intelligence you've already brought about those contacts and those opportunities. So from here, we're just going to click move these 2,780 companies all into my company's audience. As that happens, you'll start to see the total universe of companies in your company's audience grow. We had 4,700 something in here before. Now it's grown to 4,979. If I chose to refresh, it's going to go up to 6,795. That math also starts to math with the 2,780 that we're adding. And it's still going up slightly. You got to give it a little bit of time to fully settle before it's all sort of worked its way into the main audience. Now you can see our work has been done for us here. This draft that I had of this search, which still exists, now tells me, hey, all 2,792 records from this search are now already uploaded to your full universe of companies in Clay. Beautiful. So now that we've got all of our data inside of Audiences, we're going to talk a little bit more about what exactly Audiences is, what the framework is for how we should be thinking about it before we dive in to actioning it with enrichments and sending. See you there.